Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. We like to think of the future as clean. We imagine gleaming white starships, teleportation, and cities that smell like rain and ozone. But there is a universal law that every civilization eventually learns. The more advanced the society, the more complicated the bathroom situation. Alien species have spent millions of years trying to perfect the disposal. Some use molecular breakdown. Others use mini black holes or teleportation grids to move waste into the nearest sun. To an advanced alien, a clogged pipe is a mathematical impossibility, a glitch in the fabric of reality. But humans? Humans are the masters of the mess. We have spent thousands of years fighting a war against our own plumbing. We know that no matter how much quantum technology you put into a toilet, it still has to obey the laws of gravity and fluid dynamics. And when the capital city of the Zogian Empire, a planet of high-tech crystalline beings, suffered a total biorefuse apocalypse, they didn't call a scientist. They called a guy named Joe. Today's story is about Joe. Joe is a third-generation plumber from New Jersey. He is about to teach the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful tool in the universe isn't a laser, it's a red rubber plunger. If you have ever had to call a plumber on a Sunday night, smash that like button. You know the true meaning of a hero. And if you want to see a trillion-credit civilization get humbled by a piece of wet toilet paper, subscribe and ring the bell. Don't flush that. The city of Zaxos was a miracle of engineering. 10 million aliens lived in a vertical spire that touched the clouds. Their waste management was handled by the Aurelius 9 grid, a system of billions of microscopic nanobots that were supposed to disassemble any organic matter into pure energy. It was perfect, until it wasn't. It started in Sector 4, Chief Engineer Val reported, her voice trembling. A single unit reported a non-disintegratable blockage. Within an hour the back pressure began to build. The Aurelius 9 grid has quit. The nanobots are on strike. They refuse to touch whatever is in the pipes. The crystalline aliens were in a state of panic. To them, waste was a theoretical concept. Now, it was becoming a very physical, very smelly reality. The lower levels of the spire were already starting to leak. We have tried everything. Val cried to the High Council. We tried shooting lasers into the pipes. We tried praying to the great capacitor. Nothing works. There is a species, the Grand Librarian whispered, on the fringe of the sector. Humans. They have a primitive class of warriors known as plumbers. They deal with the dark fluids. They possess ancestral knowledge of the pipe. 2 hours later, Joe arrived on a transport shuttle. He walked into the gleaming white marble command center carrying a heavy metal toolbox and a coffee. He looked at the frantic, glowing aliens and sighed. "All right, show me the damage," Joe said, adjusting his belt. "And tell me you guys didn't use those flushable wipes. Because those things are a lie in any galaxy." They took him to the primary valve, a massive, pulsating crystal chamber that looked more like a religious shrine than a sewer hub. "Behold," Val said, gesturing to the glowing red pipes. "The energy flow has reversed. If the pressure exceeds the containment limits, the entire spire will be covered in unprocessed biomass." Joe set his coffee down. He walked up to the crystal pipe, leaned his ear against it and gave it a solid thump with his fist. Thud. "Yeah, she's backed up all right," Joe said. "You got a physical obstruction. Your nanobots aren't broken, they're just blocked by something solid. You guys try to dissolve everything, but you forget that some things don't want to be dissolved." Joe opened his toolbox. He pulled out a simple red rubber plunger with a wooden handle. The aliens gasped. They backed away as if he had pulled out a thermal detonator. "What is that primitive suction device?" Val asked. "It's a plunger," Joe said. "Old school. Works on pressure and vacuum. Basic physics." Joe walked over to the main access port, a hole that cost more than a small moon, and stuck the plunger in. He started pumping. Sluck, sluck, sluck. The aliens watched in horrified silence. They had spent 48 hours trying to write code to fix the problem. Joe was just using his triceps. "The math is simple," Joe grumbled as he worked. "Pressure equals force over area. You guys got too much area and not enough force. I'm just giving it a little nudge." Suddenly there was a sound. A deep, wet, terrifying gurgle. "Stand back," Joe yelled. "Yopi." The plunger released. A massive, tangled ball of what looked like metallic hair and plastic fibers shot out of the pipe and landed on the pristine floor. The Aurelius 9 grid immediately hummed back to life. The glowing red pipes turned a peaceful blue. The biorefuse apocalypse was over. Joe looked at the tangled mess on the floor. He poked it with his boot. "There's your problem," Joe said. This is a screaming Xyloth doll. It's made of synthetic polycarbonates. Your nanobots can't eat this. Who flushed a doll down the royal toilet? The High Chancellor of the Zogian Empire turned a deep shade of purple. I was trying to hide evidence of a birthday gift I disliked. Joe wiped his hands on a rag and picked up his coffee. Happens to the best of us, pal. But listen, your fancy system is too delicate. You can't rely on robots for everything. Sometimes you just gotta push the junk through. The aliens treated Joe like a conquering hero. They offered him a medal made of pure starlight. Joe declined. Just pay the invoice. And for the love of the galaxy, stop flushing plastic. The Zogian Empire never forgot the lesson. They installed a human safety valve in every home, a simple bypass that didn't use nanobots. And they placed a statue of Joe in the city square. The statue shows Joe holding the plunger high, a symbol of the man who saved a civilization with a piece of rubber and some New Jersey common sense. But Joe? He went back to Earth. He had a leak in a suburban basement to fix. Aliens, Joe muttered as he drove his van. Smart enough to build a space elevator but can't figure out a U-bend. Unbelievable. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The universe is a complicated machine, but sometimes it just needs a good shove. If you have ever fixed something expensive with a cheap tool, hit that like button. You are the Joe of your own world. Comment below. What is the one human job that would be the most confusing to an alien? My vote is on window washer. Why not just use self-cleaning glass? Subscribe. And remember, if it's flushable, it's probably not. System clear.